Fun. Yeah.
Are you sweating?
I'm sweating a little bit, buddy. I'm sweating a little bit. You know, it's because he was at the panel. I get a little nervous.
Keith Smith's in the house, of course, on Real Talk with Keith Smith. Scott Morris is here. Alex Erpe is here. The show will go live in a couple of minutes. We are slowly getting our channels up and running here, live on the group there, J-Dubs. Encouraging you, the viewer and listener, to like and share the show and ask us some questions on the program as we talk everything and anything real estate related. We do want to go live on Scott's page as you're getting it up there. This is a great headshot of Scott that we used for the promo post there. That was a nicely done promo pic there, Scott Morris. Who took that picture?
Who did that?
It looks like a professional photographer there.
It is a photographer.
Good.
I mean, this is a good-looking guy over there, right? Look at Scott Morris.
Bonnie Turner and Culpepper took that.
Okay.
Alex, you're good looking too, buddy.
I haven't had a chance to give Alex some props yet. Alex knows he's a good-looking guy right there.
Oh, thank you.
His daughter's almost a year old.
Really? That's right.
It's
wow.
crazy.
Are we doing? I overheard. Are we doing like the sleep training thing?
Well, Nick and I both did it. My brother had a rougher time but succeeded, and so I felt a little guilty because I went to do it thinking I was gonna have 2 miserable weeks, and within like first night, kind of dropped her belly, went like this, and went to sleep.
Well, this is a thing, right? Because Yvonne's going through this with Poppy. They're like this whole sleep training thing is like you let them cry, right?
Well, I went with my wife did not want to do this. She's a believer in, we read some books saying, don't do the let it cry method. So we did it in our room, kind of tapping her. So she's learned to go to sleep without the bottle in her thing, but it's in our room with us there comforting her. And then eventually, when we'll transition to
Yona does the same to me. I still haven't gotten to sleep.
Taps on the backside. It's okay.
She gets a little bottle.
Okay.
I think that was the problem with me because my parents were definitely let him cry. But
Jerry who?
I know, right? That's how it was. Scott,
well, we kind of know you, so I kind of get it.
Judah's given me the heads up to share the show from one of the live pages to your page. And viewers and listeners, I think we're going to rock and roll here in a matter of moments. I'll acknowledge some of the folks that are waiting for us to rock and roll. Kid Ashley, she's fabulous. She owns a boatload of restaurants locally and the most prolific restaurateur locally. Georgia Gilmer, hello. Albert Graves, hello. Aaron Moody. Stephanie Fick watching the program right now. DJ Morbley watching the program. This is where we give him some love. He's a fantastic home builder, Scott Morris.
Inspired home builders in Culpeper. They are amazing.
That's right. Andre Xavier, hello. Welcome to the broadcast. Sarah Buchensky, she's a realtor. She's a broker. Betsy Nugent watching the program, probably at the Boar's Head right now. Like and share the show. Handsome Hank, Neil Williamson on the feed. We got a couple of city councilors, Albemarle County Supervisor, Nelson County Supervisor, and a Louisa County Supervisor on the show. Judah, I think we can rock and roll, my friend, when you're ready, and have that Facebook Messenger open for me there, J-Dubs. Good Friday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith. It's an absolute pleasure to connect with you guys in our studio in downtown Charlottesville, where we encourage you, the viewer and listener, to help shape the discussion. Anything and everything is free game. Ask us questions, challenge the talking points, steer the direction, put your comments in the feed, and I will relay them live on air. Today's show is going to be a good one. Scott Morris is here. Alex Erpe is here. They are titans in their lines of work. Scott Morris will push deals to the finish line as an extremely talented mortgage broker. Alex Erpe in Merchant Financial Services, their family business, will help you build wealth over time. Merchant Financial Services, a trusted partner in this game. Judah Wickower is behind the camera. I think we should welcome the always sharply dressed and distinguished Keith Smith to the show, my friend.
He dropped gentlemen.
Good Friday
He
morning.
dropped gentlemen.
Can't
Did you
have it
notice
all.
that?
Can't have it all.
Drum- Well, thanks, guys. This has been kind of exciting to me to get here and do this, to kind of get this dynamic between the mortgage side of real estate and then the investment side of real estate and how they dovetail together. So usually my kickoff on this is, how's applications going? How you seeing the market? We're bouncing up and down with rates.
Well, we've been bouncing up. We haven't bounced back down. Applications have been
I was
strong.
trying to be a little positive.
I mean, what's positive is we're not outside of a range that we haven't been in the last year. We did have lost about 8 months in 28 days of progress, meaning that we're about back to where we were in July of last year from the improvement that started last August.
What's that number, roundabout?
Let's call it 6.5, 6.625. We were, heading into the end of February. We were 5.875, 5.99, and so we moved 0.5% in about 3.5 weeks. So that's been tough. And I've sent out a lot of messages, communicated with a lot of agents. If you had people that were very tightly pre-approved at a number, whatever that number was, 3 weeks ago, and they still haven't gotten under contract and locked a rate, they may not be as qualified at that same number. They may just be moving down in price point for what they're able to purchase at in today's money.
I want to jump back to that a little bit about market tempo and see what you're seeing. But Alex, looks like the markets are all over the place.
Oh,
Talk to us about
they are.
kind of tied together a little bit here.
They are tied because what you have is, right, you have a twofold thing happening. And it's funny because being on the other side, right, but oftentimes we invest in the MBS sector. So when spreads kind of tightened there, like, okay, well, this we actually saw some price increases in our end. So now this is great, and now of course spreads are widening there. You have two things happening: spreads are widening over the 10-year Treasury, and then the 10-year Treasury itself has skyrocketed in the past few weeks. And of course that
Which is now
what
showing
occurs,
up in
which shows up
in the mortgage side.
Both of those things kind of combine to push mortgage rates up, because you have the underlying instrument having its rates, seeing higher rates, and then the spreads widening again over that instrument. And then, of course, all of that probably is connected because of inflation fears, which is the same concern that the stock market is having, right?
Yeah.
You have this dramatic spike in oil prices. I know they had one day where they came down a little bit, but they've kind of creeped back up a little bit. And the issue is the longer you have...
It's a little bit more than a little bit, but that's okay.
Well, when they came back from
got
the
it.
small day, no, they're up massively over the past month.
Yeah.
So there's no getting around the fact that we're back at 90. I think this morning we were at 94, 95 again.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing there, the issue there is that the longer you have a prolonged increase in oil prices, that's beginning to seep into insurance for shipping has gone through the roof, regardless of whether you're going through the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're going, shipping insurance rates, shipping rates increasing, oil increasing. At some point, when that trickles into the rest of the pricing in the economy, you now have inflation that you cannot easily claw back. It's one thing for oil prices to go up for 5 days and then come back down. Once you have a prolonged increase in energy prices for this long, you now have those second, third order inflationary effects that the market says this cannot just be clawed back. This doesn't go back immediately. And so now you're seeing that reflected in interest rates and in spreads.
So we're talking both sets on this. We're talking on the mortgage side and the interest rates. Right at the moment, the Fed's held steady. But that sounds like that might change.
What's occurred there is basically anyone who thought that the Fed was going to lower rates this year, that is pretty much out the window. That went out the window.
Now they're crystal balling a potential hike.
Some people are now predicting a potential hike. I would say my father and I are probably still of the opinion that them doing nothing is probably the most likely scenario right now.
Well, it's politically the easiest decision.
It's the easiest decision, right?
Yeah.
But the issue is you had a market that was, as of 3 months ago, pricing in, there's going to be some more rate cuts. And now those rate cuts are gone. Yeah. So the problem is, as far as expectations go, that's the equivalent of a rate hike. I mean, if the market's pricing in the cut and it's now not going to happen, rates have to adjust.
So I want to pivot back to Scott and mortgages and the real estate market, because at the end of the day, this is a real estate show, right? We've, for years, have been talking about when the inventory is going to show back up. And I did a post this morning, and those who watch the show know that I do a week-over-week analysis, right? I take a look at my snapshot, and I literally, thanks to my friend Jerry, taught me, I take a picture of it, and I've got like years of week.
I thought you were going to say magnify it with your phone, but keep going.
Ooh.
He's not sweating right now.
Really? Ooh. All right. Yeah. Okay, Scott. I got it. Got it. Well, I will be professional. How does that sound, Scott?
All right.
Before I start sweating, there's an inside joke on the sweating thing, and we'll leave it alone for right now. But this same week, ending 2025, we had 72 new homes come on the market, right? These are across the, and now we're at 132. So that's an 80% increase. So we've been talking about this for a while. When will inventory pick back up? Pendings are also up. Pendings are up same week over week, about 30%. So we've got an 80% plus or minus increase in new inventory and roughly a 30% plus or minus increase on that. That's telling me, from my layman's perspective, all the conversations we're having right now isn't impacting the market on the street. And I was just wondering if you see it the same way.
Absolutely. I mean, we've.
Yeah, it's right. Right.
We are seeing more activity, listings just from the inventory and buy side application activity interest, 100%.
Yeah. So, do you think to the yet comment we're gonna, is people really following this that hard when we're at the housing market end of it, or they're in such a desperate need to find a home that they're kind of overlooking at this at the moment?
I think there's a combination. I think, so here's, part of it's going to be headline driven. Should the word 7% interest rate be broadcast across the news cycle?
At one show we were talking about 9%, right?
You'll see, I know, but we just came back from,
I hear
that.
you.
If that is then talked about on like a national scale, you'll see some pearl clutching. Very much there will be, maybe we'll hold off and see what happens next. That will re-enter the chat, should that happen.
So, from your side of it, the mission, we're two jarheads here, two Marines here. It's called mission creep. I'll kind of leave that message alone at the moment. Do you see your end of it, creeping into this tempo that's picking? Clearly, we're in a very different housing tempo than we've been in a very long time.
Well, and the issue is you don't have, at least from our end, right? The issue too that you have is when people see uncertainty in the markets, they also, kind of to Scott's point about pearl clutching, it really much depends on what headlines people are seeing. Because let's put it this way, right? S&P 500 may be down 5.5%. You'll be amazed how many people come into our office, right? We're doing the annual review. That, all right, how much am I down? There's a lot of people that don't log in, right? And then they're surprised to find out they're not quite down 5. Sometimes they're down 0.5%.
Somebody
1%.
once taught me a long time ago: put it and forget it.
Put it and forget it, right? But the problem is, right? People aren't going to make a decision based on, okay, let me look into my portfolio, see the exact numbers. They're going to be like, oh man, things have really crashed. I see this big dollar number in my portfolio that's down. Do I want to make an investment right now? Do I want to make changes? Do I want to do anything? And so if you get into analysis paralysis, that's where you can probably see some people holding back. But I think to Scott's point, it really very much depends on the actual headline. No one's going to go into the fine details and say, well, this particular stock that I own is down 2.75%. If it's down 2.8, then I'm not going to buy a house this year. Right? It's going to be the big headlines. It's going to be the big concerns that people are seeing. And it's going to be very much, I think, how much does this translate into the inflation that people see in the store? Right?
Or at the pump.
The pump we've already seen. So that ship has sailed, right? If you begin to see it again in the stores, now everything you buy is more expensive.
That's what I'm most worried about.
I think we need a little more of a run rate. I mean, I think we need to get a full quarter of these higher fuel prices to get there. And I think that if this thing can be mitigated, controlled, brought to an end, you will see gas prices fall back below 70. And along with that, it'd be a great, for what you do, fixed, you know, you can get into the bond market. I think you could have a great second half of the year in bonds if we'd run up to 4.5% and then fall back below 4 towards the end of the year. I mean,
And Xavier's a bond guy.
But that's essentially what we've already done. Basically, we tamped down our bond risk, right, to sit there and say, okay, we're going to protect ourselves. Once interest rates go up, prices come down, we just go back in, and this is great for us because now we're going back into the bond market at higher interest rates, which means higher yields for clients. So from the buy side of bonds, you're just like, this could be a boon for us because you get out, and then you get back in at a higher rate, and now you've locked that in. And again, if everything can be wrapped up and things go back to semi-normal, right, then you're sitting there without the interest rate risk anymore.
So Scott, you usually on the leading edge of the market, right? Because you get folks picking up the phone to call you about mortgages. You know, what can I afford? You know, are you seeing because we're at $4, because that's where we're at. That's where we were this morning when I filled up. So are you seeing that impacting decision making on that end?
not
of it?
yet, but again, like I said, I think you have to get a longer run rate. I think you've got to get a full quarter. You've got to get at least a couple months. And again, the headlines are part of it right now, but everything is going to be trade the headline because nobody knows what's going on. And until we get some clarity on that, you get 3 months in, you know, you're going to be seeing.
Well, that's when you get that trickle down.
You're going to get a bunch of "I did that" Trump stickers pointed at the gas price in a matter of time. It just hadn't gotten there yet.
But last night I went out for a meeting at CVille, and I had to wait to get in. So, you know, people are still buying houses. People are still paying $4 a gallon for gas.
It's also not a very large restaurant.
It's not a large restaurant.
And it's Thursday night.
But it's a Thursday night. And
Scott's really got something.
Telling
He's,
you,
he's
you're
trying to
just
bite
not
his
enough
tongue.
time. You're just not enough time. It's like
No, I got that. That's so I'm supporting your opinion. I just don't think
It's not an immediate.
it hit us yet to impact that. I just expected to roll into you know, maybe it'll be easier to get a table.
if you're looking for those market indicators, what you need to be looking for is the number of people who are purchasing at your Dollar General, Walmart types of stores. When you see the data on that creep into higher price point, like higher earners, so families that are earning over $120,000 or more, when their purchasing begins to creep into those lower entry stores, that's a signal that they're probably also not going out to eat that dinner at Tavola, but we're not there yet.
So back to real estate. I did a quick analysis. I posted it this morning. First quarter, not quite the end of the first quarter, but I did exact date to exact date, 2025 versus this year. We're up full car footprint. It's the normal attached, detached, new construction. It's everything. We're up 6% in sales volume, but we're down in the average and median sales price somewhere in the 3 to 4% range for both of them. But it's interesting, when I took a deeper dive in it, new construction detached is up 41% this year versus last year. And Jerry, I've been looking hard at this. The $1 million in upsell the first quarter of this year versus last year is up 10.3%. So there's 10% more $1 million in up homes in this first quarter versus the first quarter of 2025. The middle, I call it the missing middle, is getting squashed.
Yeah.
And that's why the averages are down. That's why, you know, it's not down. You're seeing a greater increase. Last year, Albemarle County was almost 25% of its sales were $1 million and up. So you're starting to see this $1 million and up market come up. Are you seeing that on your end? There's a smile there.
Albemarle County is like, when you describe what a K-shaped economy looks like from a localized perspective.
It has an A in front of it. It has an A in front of it, yeah.
Comments are coming in. Johnny Ornelas says good morning to the panel.
Morning.
We love Johnny Ornelas. Viewers and listeners, put your comments in the feed. We'll relay them live on air.
Go out to El Malriachi out in Zion's Crossroads.
100%. The census data came out yesterday for 2025, and I found it fascinating. We can spend an entire week's worth of shows on the census data. Charlottesville City, its population over the last 5-year period of time has dropped 4.58%. Albemarle County over that same 5-year period of time has increased 5.27%. Fluvanna County, 6.34%. Greene, 6.86%. Louisa's growth rate is astronomical. I mean, we're talking 14.2% in Louisa. Nelson County is stagnant. I'm curious of the activity that's in this market and how much of it is tied to an influx of people that are coming to the area. Because outside of Charlottesville and kind of a flat Nelson County, Central Virginia is booming in population. And this is like the first inning of the population boom, as we've talked about with what's happening with biotechnology in the next 24 months. And anywhere you guys want to go on that, Keith, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been talking about this forever. It's the boomers, right? It's the folks coming from outside the areas with a pocket full of cash. That's why the $1 million and up market is doing so well, or close to that, and they're coming in. But the dynamic is going to change because we're going to have a high dollar workforce. We already have an existing high dollar workforce. We're going to have a greater high dollar workforce coming in. And I heard last week we got a clarity on the pharmaceutical entry level. We thought
Galloway.
We thought it was a median at 125, 150. That's the floor.
600 employees tied to AstraZeneca's new headquarters, and the starting salary is 125,000 for the 600, and it goes up from there. Initially, it was presented as the average, but the 125 is the starting salary.
Wow.
And that's 600 people. And they're projecting a population uptick tied to that biotechnology beltway of 6 to 8,000 incremental citizens in the next 24 to 36 months.
I'm really
The
interested.
insanity is where the hell are these folks going to
I'm
live?
already angry about the traffic.
Yeah, I know. This, when you mentioned the traffic,
We were
I'm
already
like,
told
wait,
the traffic this morning.
wait till your son is the youngest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, is your son is in second or third grade?
He's in kindergarten. The
He's out
girls-
kindergarten
the
right
girls are in
now.
second.
So when your son is in second or third grade, we're gonna have 6,000 to 8,000 more people here.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that right there.
Well, I
And
just
he
don't.
coaches his kids, right, and a lot of stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
and the question becomes is where they're going to live, and if the missing middle is getting squeezed down,
Yep.
right?
How many active listings at one given time, Keith, in the car footprint? And then Alex got
Well, I'd have to look at it. You got to look at it over time. But I'm looking at right now.
back of the night. Yeah.
And I'll let Alex answer. I can answer that
Okay.
question. What's active right now?
Well, I was going
in
to
the
say
car footprint.
the other challenge there is I came across an article about this recently. The issue is that a lot of boomers, when they move, they are moving into what would typically be missing middle
100%.
housing, because they're no longer. A lot of times, what they've been noticing happening is that boomers many times they're moving where their children are. Instead of children moving, staying in hometown, boomers then go follow the kids. So what happens? You have boomers. Where are the kids? Nice school districts. Where do the boomers go? Same school districts. Does it matter to them whether that school district has a house that is downsized or if it's a single family? No, they're going to come in. They're going to say, "I have cash. I'm going to do this."
We're
And
still
so who can't buy that now?
We're
The
still
family
at
that
30.
would
I
typically
looked
be
at it
living.
today. We're still roughly around a third of all our transactions are cash.
Okay, exactly. Because what's happening is we're in this scenario where the new family formation is looking for the same house as the boomers in the same neighborhood.
I mean, you
And
guys.
they're
So I've
competing
been
the same thing,
talking
except
about-
one has cash and one doesn't.
I got chastised for this years ago. I've been talking about it forever. What I want and what a millennial wants is exactly the same two things. And we're competing against that. And eventually this is going to be like a generational problem. This is not a money thing. This is, you are taking my house, boomer kind of thing. So
I'll tell you what, last couple of weeks, I've been spending more time working open houses, and the number of people who are looking for multi-generational living
Oh, yeah.
is like, it's a crazy who's showing up. And a lot of those people are like, can we fit more family in this house?
I cannot get into the details because we're in the process of trying to close it. You know a little bit about this particular project. Multi-generational house, apartment in the basement. It's exactly what's happening. The numbers haven't come out yet, but as of last year, it was roughly 18% of all the sales are multi-generation. The year before it was 14. So that is going to continue to climb because we don't have the inventory to put them in, to
Yep,
put
exactly.
the folks in. Plus, my family's a prime example. God love my mother and father. We're very blessed to be able to put an apartment in the basement, and thank you to Scott for helping us make that happen. We sold their home. We had a little bit of money after it. They did not have enough money to move into something that met their needs because it needed to have an 8 in front of it, and they didn't have that much cash on it.
Yeah, and that trend is only going to gain more momentum as costs escalate. Albemarle County is talking about a 15-cent increase on personal property right now to fund housing affordability. Charlottesville is talking about a 2-cent increase on the real estate tax rate to fund housing affordability. Just make it make sense.
Yeah. Well, what you'll have a dichotomy, right? The boomers that are young enough and can afford it are just going to go ahead and buy the single-family home in the same district as their kids. Because the families that...
Well, it's also because it's built-in daycare, right?
Yeah.
These expenses
It's
are...
built-in overhead sharing.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
That's exactly
You
what we're
guys
doing.
are doing
But
that.
again, that's the other side of that time. There's going to be, I think we're going to see more of the multi-generation because there's going to be families that want to do the same thing, except they can't afford
Well, here's
to have two separate houses.
Well, here's the
They're
trick
going
to
live
that.
in the
Then
same
you've
house.
got to layer in the zoning to get into my world, right? The zoning doesn't allow it. Oh, by the way, HOAs don't allow it sometimes, right? So it becomes more difficult to layer that in. Look, this is a quick look out, car footprint, all the jurisdictions, all the property types. Right now, there's 636
Active listings.
active listings right now, as of right now. But if you take a deeper dive into that, a lot of that's, like if I pull out new construction, a lot of it is.
How many of those active listings are paper houses?
Well,
is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I can't
Right,
without
paper
specifically.
Paper houses is like the architectural.
Yeah.
plan.
Exactly, yeah.
It would be I could do it, but it would take forever. So I just took new construction out of it and it dropped to 528.
Yeah. So if we say, let's just say back of the napkin numbers.
So I went from 638 to 528.
Okay, back of the napkin. 500 active listings, and in 24 months, 6,000 to 8,000 people moving here.
Yeah, but the problem with that is,
insanity.
but the
Think
problem
about
is if you really look at those active listings, that number's much lower.
It's
Yeah,
much
not
lower
even-
because some of
exactly.
those are so long in the tooth. They're dilapidated. They're non-loanable.
Look, and Scott can
I don't
jump.
know how many, the percentage is probably smaller on the ones that just you couldn't mortgage qualify.
Okay.
I think along the two, some of them are probably like a year on market because they've sat overpriced.
Terribly priced.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm literally just put to your point, looked up, 405, 648, 7, there's a bunch of homes that, so I could get you to a good number, but that takes a couple
Well,
hours.
that's right. If we just use 500, even if that's
Yeah, you said even the
inflated,
high
even if
is-
that's inflated.
I think that number's high.
Okay, so let's say there's 400. How does 400 active homes, and let's use the low number of what government is saying, 6,000 people. Like, how is that going to work? What is that going to do to prices? What is that going to do to the people that are trying to buy a home for the first time? What is that going to do to public school enrollment data? What is that going to do to Waynesboro?
Yeah, so we
And
talked,
Augusta County.
That's the
That's what they're
movement
gonna
out.
get. Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's any coincidence so granted, a lot of Albemarle, Savannah, Louisa, that's growth and more people moving in. But there's probably also some segment of what was Charlottesville.
100%.
That negative Charlottesville is
Piecing out.
showing up in the positive numbers on the other
so I'm going to
counties.
break this down a little easier, right?
100%.
So let's try it this way. Albemarle County, we're only going to do detached. We're going to assume that these folks want a detached home, not a condo or a townhome. Right now, there's 160 homes active in Albemarle County that, are detached. This is new construction plus existing on that end of it.
But I think some of those folks, they're going to settle for
Well,
the
the-
attached.
So this is what we've been talking about.
Because if you're coming in here, you did a nice paying job, you're ready to move in.
So-
you see this a lot of times with doctors and so forth. They're going to grab the first available.
So the
one
pressure
that-
on the missing middle, is just going to get worse. right? Because what'll happen, to your point, I might not be able to buy this $1.5 million, which, by the way, that's, in my experience at the moment, the most competitive market right now is $1 million to $1.5 million right now. That is the most competitive market. Over 1.5, it gets a little bit easier from a buyer's perspective.
$1 million to $1.5 million is now almost the second move-up home. It's like you went, so maybe the third move-up home. You had a starter home, either sold starter home that went to a move-up home, and then $1 million, $1.5 million is either that move-up home or the move-up home after that, which is bananas to say, if you think about that.
I literally was talking to a client yesterday about that. I can't believe I'm actually using these numbers. But it is the reality of it is, and back to the pressure on the middle, right? Because that, to your point, that's what's going to happen. I need a house. It's not the perfect house. I'm going to buy a house because I want my kids. I want in. Most likely, these are dual income folks, right? Most likely. And, school enrollments are plummeting here. Nelson County's down 15%. My county, our county is down 8%.
Albemarle County is down.
About 3 or 4% on that end of it.
Private schools are spiking.
And that's what's going to happen. They're just going to pivot.
One of the challenges that people are facing moving into the attached from immediately getting here is in these neighborhoods that are still under construction. What's happened is they'll get in during phase 1 or phase 2, they buy the townhouse, they're ready, they all of a sudden, a year and a half later, 2 years later, they've got a kid and they want to sell the townhouse, and that house is you're now competing against phase 2 or phase 3 of the brand new construction for something that they just bought with a lower, even if it's not a lower amount of equity, they're still in it for an amount that they're trying to get out of it from while competing with the new houses that the builder is putting in Section 2 or Section 3.
Always said that, when you're first in, we know this from the building world, you're going to have to be there for a while before you can go resell it.
Comments coming in quick.
The only quick, don't push back, not necessarily to push back to that, but if this 125 and up buyer might have enough wherewithal just to keep it as a rental and then buy.
Sure, some of them do, some of them don't. But the bottom line is, I know, I'm telling you, right now, there are people right now facing that challenge.
Yeah, 100%.
Imagine the 120. So AstraZeneca directly has 600 people, and we know the starting point in pay for AstraZeneca is $125,000, straight from the lips of Ned Galloway last Friday on the show, the supervisor. Imagine the AstraZeneca folk coming in here, just the 600 in 24 months, one person at 125K, maybe a partner that's also working. They sell their home elsewhere to move here with the proceeds from the home they sell, with a job that the entry is 125, and with a partner that's also working. I mean, the dynamic the impact that this is gonna have locally, I don't think is really being discussed anywhere outside of here.
I get conversations regularly with people moving from out of the area who come into, I'm talking physicians at UVA, just things of that nature, who go, wait, how much does it cost to live here?
Yeah. All the time.
All the time.
Well, but so to get this on the table, our region, for as long as I can remember, has always been the second highest cost of living in the state of Virginia. It's always been that way.
Is it number one now?
I don't think it's quite number
Oh, it's
one
not
yet.
quite
I think
number
you still
one?
got, I don't think the data's come out of it,
Yeah.
but I'm doing last year's numbers.
Sam Sanders says it's the most expensive in the Mid-Atlantic. That actually is not true. Northern Virginia is still the
It's still
highest.
more-
So,
okay,
so
yeah,
where
just okay.
to qualify his comment,
Uh-huh.
by density,
Okay.
right?
Oh, okay.
So
By capita?
by capita. So
Okay.
if you take
Per
a
capita.
region that has the same number of capita, yada, 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 and compare it to.
It is a little misleading, though.
Yeah, that is, okay.
Yeah,
it's a little
they're missing that point, right? But
And even the pockets of Northern Virginia, it depends on where you are.
100%.
It's.
so we talk about Lake Monticello because it's easier for me to kind of use it as a litmus test for the market. We got 4,500 homes. They're typically generally about the same size. They're all detached. There's no real attached at Lake Monticello. So at the moment, we got 36 homes on the market, which has been high compared to a year or two ago when we were single digits. But just to keep that in check, that's less than 1% of the total number of homes, just to put that into perspective.
We'll get to comments here. First, we'll highlight folks that are watching. Rob Neal, Vanessa Parkhill, your family, James Watson,
James.
watching the program. Sandra McDaniel, number of realtors are watching the show. And we love when agents watch the program. Brett Lillard watching the program. Brittany Moore watching the program. I'll throw this one to Scott. This is a question that's come in the feed. Can you describe non-loanable for us? What non-loanable means?
Sure. So when we talk about a property that, let's say, it goes a little bit beyond deferred maintenance, like if you go into the living room, you look up and you can see the sun, and there's not a skylight there, that becomes an issue. When you go into something that somebody maybe started as a project to rehab, where they had renters in it at some point as an investment property, and you've got exposed subfloor, exposed wiring, there are, we get transactions every now and then when someone goes, well, we can't do this with a conventional loan. It's like, no, it still doesn't meet like standard requirements that the end investor wants to have the property meet to know that a borrower isn't going to buy it and then go, I can't deal with this, and then walk away and not pay. So when you get into certain foundation issues, septic problems, there's certain requirements that a property must meet in order for it to be loanable, and that varies from various products, be it VA, FHA, conventional, and largely you can think of conventional product as long as there is nothing that is unsafe or too damaged, it's probably going to be okay, or at least you may be able to finance that. And then when you get into FHA and VA, safety and quality become a higher issue. Like if there's loose deck boards, or if there's peeling paint, if there's not handrails in certain places, if there's a drop of more than 18 inches or stairs, those are all things that become an issue. And some of them are very easy to solve. One of the things that an agent asked me the other day, they're like, well, the other lender said, this may not work because there's peeling paint. I said, well, that's a very it'll still work. Somebody will go out there and they'll sand it and they'll paint it. I mean, it's not a huge area that we're talking about. It's still a very solvable problem.
So what's the problem here?
Is it a problem? Yes, it is a solvable problem at the end of the day.
I can totally see you answering that question.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we could figure that out with the peeling paint. Even Judah's laughing.
That's
we
called-
know how Scott would answer that.
That's called thinking outside the box.
I mean, the answer isn't no. It's just like, no, all right, well, let's go figure it out.
You're seeing this in the marketplace right now, even though tempo's picking up.
Is it the panic?
Yeah, there's a little bit of panic in the underlining in it. And it's,
I think that comes when you're buying homes. Like you take that hot category of $1 million to $1.5 million. We look at this, my wife and I, all the time. If you look at what $1.5 million house is right now, you would be shocked in a lot of cases of what you're buying.
I literally cannot disagree with that. It's blowing my mind.
It is. What you at $1.5 million, and how much money you will have to put into $1.5 million home in Albemarle County.
So I've got a real world example that maybe Scott can help us through. Similar situation, right? Let's call it that price range. We'll leave stuff out of it. The home, we've got good septic, we're in good physical shape, but the deferred maintenance on it is terrible. It needs a new roof, yada, 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 yada. Is there a loan product where we can go ahead and roll in a purchase price and having somebody come in and put it, there's a substantial amount of upgrade work that has to be done in the house? Is there a path there for this
Absolutely.
client?
Assuming the borrower qualifies.
We qualify. Let's assume it does.
Then yes, we'd bring in a contractor, we'd get an estimate for the repairs or the upgrades, and
So talk about on specifically how that works. Educate me on this.
So initially, and we would need this prior to the appraisal, because the appraisal is going to be subject to the improvements on value. So you would have a client, they would say, hey, I really like this house, but we all know it's rough. We go, okay, cool. Here's Joe's Renovation Company. Joe's Renovation Company would go out with the buyer and take a list of all the things, and we'd create an estimate. We would take that estimate and we'd plug it in. We'd go, okay, they would make a 5% down payment on this property, and we're going to have we're 3.5% depending on what product specifically we're using here, and We would have an estimate, we'd give the estimate to the appraiser would have a subject to value for completion. The borrowers would close on the property like any other transaction, and then the renovation company would have 6 months to complete the repairs that would be paid out in a draw schedule as they proceeded through, and the appraiser would go out and look at it and see that it met its final condition.
Rates are competitive on that?
Rates are competitive.
Yeah. So I think to Jerry's point, you're going to start seeing upticking on that because I think the buyer profile that's coming in at that price point are well qualified, right? But the product type it's missing the features and the condition on it, right? So real estate, as we talk about, is 6 things, right? Location, price, features, condition, timing, and who's on the other side matters. So you have a tool available for real estate agents and for buyers to fill that gap. But they can't do the work. They need to get a Class A general
Correct.
contractor in
Correct.
to do it. Is that so?
I mean, that's a sticking point a lot of times. Is somebody who wants to, everybody wants to play let's make a deal, and sometimes the deal is they want to do the work themselves,
Yeah.
but unfortunately that's not the way that this works.
Is the builder qualified just through the process, or they can use whoever they want?
They can use whoever they want. They need to be a Class A builder.
Got it. Perfect. All right.
Comments continue to come in, and then
Thank
I
you.
have one for my personal family that I'm going to put on the feed here, that my wife has given me the green light to ask.
She gave a green light.
Of Scott and Keith. First, this is from Rob Neal. Rob Neal's super sophisticated guy, finance guy, development guy, super smart guy. He says,
Thanks.
has there been more seller finance deals locally, Keith? Similarly, I have a hard time with that word. Have you seen more cash purchases that are actually boomer parents buying than financing for their kids after closing to win the deal? Like the boomer parent paying cash to help their kid win, and then they get into a financing vehicle once they've made the acquisition. So seller finance in that one.
So seller financing, it's a little bit difficult in this market. You don't see a lot of that on it. Typically because they usually have a primary mortgage on it, and seller finance, you got to satisfy that, and the math doesn't work. And on the residential side, everybody's got to be pretty sophisticated to make that happen, right? The seller has to be prepared to be the bank, right? Right, and be prepared to do that. In some cases, it's a benefit. I've done it on multiple clients.
Best kind of deals in some ways. Specifically commercial.
But even on the residential side, I've done enough of them where it has to be very specific to the seller's needs, right? Generally, it's wrapped around their tax liability, right? They don't want that money, but they want it over time, right? The second question, I forgot. Try that again.
Are you seeing boomer parents?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the short answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
You're seeing that to win the deal, to go in there. You're also seeing situations where, the buyer's capable of buying cash, but they don't want to, but they use cash to go in it, and we're allowed to do this in the contract. Then they pick up the phone and call Scott and go, okay, I don't want to use my cash. I want to keep it with you, making whatever you're making on it.
To that point, if you're in a private note that's about to balloon on you right now, reach out to me and we'll see if we can get you out of it. So.
Nicely done, Scott.
Nicely done. Good segue. I heard something, I had talked to 2 sellers looking for a particular property that they had deals under contract that fell apart. Is no-doc loans starting to creep back into the market?
What are we calling a no-doc loan?
That's a great question.
Tell me more about the property, just a snapshot.
Yeah, it was multi-million-dollar properties, and the buyers.
So I've seen an uptick of people with a lot of money who are looking to get into short-term rentals on multi-million-dollar properties. And the problem typically is somebody tells them that they can do it, but they themselves have no rental history. And one of the investor requirements or underwriting conditions in order to take on an investment purchase.
You're talking DSCR loans.
Yes.
Yeah, DSCR loans.
You want to try that acronym so everybody knows what it is?
I don't want to interrupt what is it, debt service coverage ratio?
Yes. And in order to do that, you can do it just as an investment property, assuming it's going to qualify on a traditional 1070 appraisal like rent schedule.
You have to be an experienced landlord.
But if you need to be an experienced landlord, and if you don't have the history of experience and you're trying to qualify on short-term rentals, it's going to fall apart, because if it's not there, they're not going to give you the money.
And before you even get there,
The DSCR loan's a phenomenal loan. That's a no-doc loan. That's based on the rent income.
We'll call it a sub-doc loan.
Yeah.
We're going to, there's some things that
where those usually fall apart, they may get you involved in it, but then they realized, oops, these are the rules.
But the DSCR loan is not for a personal residence.
No. I'm talking about short-term rentals in Albemarle County, when they
Okay.
start digging into, or jurisdictions, the Airbnb, because everybody wants to do an Airbnb income, and then once they start getting educated on the rules, they usually walk away from them.
Well,
And
the
then-
planning commission in Charlottesville City Hall right now, I don't understand really, and this is a topic for a different show because I respect Keith so much. What the hell Charlottesville's doing? They're talking about the short-term rental regulations is now 180 days. You can do a short-term rental. Technically, you can have two, but you have to live in a house for at least 180 days. So you can be in one for 180 days, another one for 180 days, short-term rental each of them. They're talking about cutting the rental availability for STRs down to 90 days. And they're talking about raising the permitting costs for the short-term rentals, just basically making them way more difficult to use. To do.
Well, what
Because
they're trying to do is they're trying to move,
increase inventory for sale inventory.
or for affordable housing. is
Yeah.
what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a different show. How about this one?
I can tell you historically, across, because I speak to this around the country, ADUs do not help in the housing affordability market. It's just, they have to be so heavily subsidized that either subsidized on taxes. They work a little bit in Seattle because their taxes are so high, and you get tax benefits for a long period of time. But for the most part, they're super expensive to build, super expensive to set up, and they just don't work.
whether you're running short-term time or not, I think it improves the marketability towards the people who are now looking towards these multiple generational.
That's
properties.
where I'm seeing it going, right?
Multi-generational,
This 18% is going to increase. That's exactly where it's going. The AKA granny flats. The kids and the babies live in the main house. We live, as you know, we live at Lake Monticello. That's what I wanted to do in my house, but I couldn't do a detached ADU in Lake Monticello, even though I live on a 2-acre lot. I had plenty of room to do it.
Because the HOA.
The HOA would not allow.
Aren't they doing detached ADUs on the Ravanna Trail?
Oh, Scott Morris.
Dun-dun-dun.
Scott Morris. I love that right there.
Saw that
Look
Can-
at you, buddy, huh?
He's always on point. Can you imagine if 250 people that lived in North Downtown chose to go to Dick's and buy some Coleman tents and some Yetis and go camping for
All right,
6
all right,
months
we're
on the
gonna move
Ravanna
on.
Trail?
We're gonna move on.
I mean, I'm just going to say that right now. Scott got me going
What
right
was?
there.
Hold it. Where did this whole "I got too much respect for Keith"
I-
go? Phew, right
He
out
knows how to fuel my
So,
fire.
Alex, how's the
Scott
family
Morris.
doing? We'll let these two guys talk.
All right, no, how about this personal question?
No, I'm talking to Alex.
This is real
The
estate.
adults in the room are going to talk.
Real estate tied to my family.
Thank you.
Here, what do you think about this? You guys know we like to sell homes, and now my wife is on board with that. We like to stay in them for 2, 3, or 4 years. Make sure we hit that $500,000 in capital gains, which is a 2-year marker, right? You have to be in there 2 years.
2 years.
I think we're at that point in June, and we're probably eclipsing that gain number already in 24 months. I would certainly love to jump to something else. This is the question that I have for you guys. Do you consider selling the home, because you have to buy something next, before the 24-month hit with AstraZeneca and biotechnology? Because then you know the buy is a little bit more affordable, but you're also selling at a time where demand is not the highest. Or do you wait to that 24-month influx of biotechnology, get the demand of 6,000 people coming in, so you sell at a higher sell at a higher price point, but you're also buying in a more competitive climate. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to save my comment for last. I'll see who wants to jump.
I mean, Maybe I'm a risk-averse, stress-averse person. I would stay out of the stress if I were to buy.
So you're saying you would not do it? You're not.
I would not wait.
You would just stay. Oh, you would do it
I would
now.
not wait. I would do it sooner if you
Okay.
want to do it. Just
Well, okay.
that's a purely personal
That's a good strategy.
question.
Any suggestions? Just get the mortgage with you?
I don't think he's not that kind of guy. He does not.
I'm not a time the market guy. I'm gonna do what you like, what fits your needs. Like for example, like I am about to start a renovation project because I hate everything I look at when I go out looking for houses. So it just.
What's your current house?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
It's interesting. I read a national stat that renovation market is declining drastically year over year. You're seeing a little bit less of that. Not really sure how that impacts the market overall. It could just be a blurb, but
Your house is beautiful. I've seen you do the videos in your home, Keith, or Scott, in your kitchen. It's very nice.
It's because if I would say that it's declining, it's probably because the amount of new construction that is being
That's it.
subsidized in order to prevent people. That gives people another option. I don't love a lot of the new construction. I don't like the neighbor. I don't want to be in 95% of those neighborhoods. It's not my thing.
it's interesting because this price point that I think is becoming difficult to fill. That's what they don't want. They want the 1 to 1.5, but they don't want to be in an HOA. They don't want to be. They want a little bit more room.
I mean, I talk to people for a living. I don't need to see them when I'm done with work. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the people feel the same way, by the way.
I get it.
Good luck for that price point in Albemarle County
Look,
and not being in an HOA. Is that what you tell them?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, and then that buyer profile also can wait too. But to the conversation that we're just having right now, the conversation I'm having with them, but you're chasing something that's climbing, right?
Yes.
And to your point, if the timing is right now to do it, then we got to do it. Buy what we can buy. You're never going to hit a 10, right? You're just never going to hit a 10. But if you can get north of 5, like 1 out of 5, 5 out of 10 boxes, then that's something we should make a play on and go ahead and move. There's a reason why number 5 is timing, right? So I agree, now when the time is to buy, now is always now. But strategically, I would strongly look at trying to find something now. The question becomes, you're 2 years, can we negotiate a lease back, right, to give you that time that you need? But if you can time this right with your 90 days that lent
Well, you're
back,
saying you already hit the 2 year. Have you hit
2 years in June.
Yeah,
So if you list it right now, it would hit
yeah,
June.
you list right now, yeah.
Yeah.
so if you list it now, it'll probably close in June, July,
Yeah.
you hit your thing.
Yeah.
you
Well,
just-
then the question becomes, and this is always the case, where are you going to go?
Well, that's the challenge. That's the challenge, and that's what my wife says all the time. It's like you're buying into this climate as well.
Well,
You're
ba-
selling at a great time, and then you're buying at a not so great time.
Yeah.
Well, back to the uptick in new inventory. We are starting to see more inventory that is coming in at all price points, but particularly that price point. I think the real estate market is back to the normal. I've called this at the end of last year. We're back to the normal tempo, up and down, right? So we've kind of came to an early spring market. I think you're going to start seeing these high inventory units historically for the last few years come on. Then I think you're going to see July, August, a drop, which is pretty normal, and then you're going to start seeing it come back in the fall. I think you're going to start seeing a normal rhythm
Seasonality
to the market.
Do you say this is a balanced market? And same question for you, Scott. Or would you say this is a market still favoring
I'd say
sellers?
we're getting into a more normal rhythm. I agree with Keith 100% there. And with that said, I've talked to so many people. Nobody wants to see the chaos of no home inspections.
Unicorn years is what I call it.
But at the same time, the right property in the right place at the right price still brings. I was having a conversation yesterday about somebody. They made a very competitive offer, $30,000 over escalation, all the things, and they didn't get a call back for 2 days. It was like, oh, sorry, we totally accept.
So that's so you're right. If the micro markets matter. If it hits all the right sixes, it's right. You look at something at whatever price range, but just happen to be talking about the upper end at the moment, which is blowing my mind. Multiple offers, multiple viewings.
There's people knocking on our door in the neighborhood that are
see if you wanna
agents
see.
and neighbors
Yeah.
that are saying, we will pay cash for your house.
They don't
And-
even know that you
They
have thought about it.
They tour. Well, they know that I like to do this,
Oh,
and
okay.
they toured, lost out on the house in the open house
Mm-hmm.
when we bought. Literally, this is happening once or twice a month at our house.
And the people that are getting the thing knocked on the door at this hot price range and hot location, the worst thing you can do is take somebody knocking on your door, because you've got multiple offers coming in. I saw one with a $300,000 appraisal gap, with a proof of funds that this home ended up going $300,000 over list price. Supposedly, it hasn't closed yet, with an appraisal gap of $300,000 with a proof of funds, home inspections waived, septic inspections waived. It's just insane. Then you look at the same price point, and the house is on the market for 100 days, 40 days.
So I have a metric. I talk about this all the time. I tell people, if you are somebody who is thinking of selling your home, and you've got a number in your head, and you've talked to an agent, you didn't like what they said, or maybe you liked what they said too much, I want you to go look online, use all the apps, the Zillow, the Realtor, just all of them, and look at views and saves. And here's your math. If you look at what you think that your house should be sold for, and the house that is a mirror image of yours that's been on for 21 days has 353 saves and 353 views and 20 saves, that house is overpriced.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at a house that has 2,500 views and 200 saves, that house is properly priced, but when people get to it, there's something wrong with it. Houses that generate 1,000 views and 100 saves will sell in an immediate fashion if they've been on for more than 14 days.
It's a great way to use that tool. And you can do that before you even show up.
And it's a great thing. If you are a realtor talking to a client who has unrealistic expectations, say, hey, look, I understand that that's the way you feel. I want you to go look at this. Or if you've got a property that you let them, you said, okay, look, we'll put it at your price. And now you've been on for 2 weeks and they're going, hey, why haven't we had any showings? It's because when you look at the views and saves, if the views and saves are low, now you can also be in a bad location. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, that could be part of the problem.
What's
No one's
number one?
searching there.
Location.
But if you're in the right place, it means people are seeing it and they go, they see it on the map. They see the price on the map and they don't even click on it because you're out of the money.
Comments continue to come in. Do you guys want to take some comments?
Yes, let's do that. And we're getting close to.
Daniel Kaufman watching the program, Public Fish and Oyster and Blackout Chop House owner. Great restaurants, Daniel. Bob Yarborough, the king of Redfields, on the show. Kevin Willis, neighbor of ours, watching the program. Keep an eye out for what's going on potentially in that neighborhood. Goodness gracious, there's a lot of comments here. This one I'll throw to the panel. Micro markets matter. Which are the micro markets that are doing well?
Yeah, so it's not only right now, the million to million five is doing really well.
I think this particular comment
Yeah.
is,
Geography?
yeah.
It's the classic ones. It depends on where you're on the price point, right? If you're in a certain price point, it's in Ivy, right? It's in Weston Albemarle. If you're trying to get into something in the 300 to 400,000, it's still Lake Monticello. So it really depends on the price points. It is not a global footprint market. That's the important part, and you have to do your homework too. I mean, the hack that you just gave, Scott, is a freaking awesome hack. You can do that both as sellers and buyers, but you can figure that out pretty quickly. So I will tell you, Charlottesville would probably be the one that I would predict at the end of this year will not do as well as the rest of the jurisdictions. They did not do the same. I think that's a continuation of 2025. I just don't think you're going to see such a high turnover in the city of Charlottesville.
Are you seeing the same for the city of Charlottesville, Scott?
Say again?
Slowness, stagnation, Flatness?
I don't have enough. I don't plug myself in enough.
Yeah,
to,
it's just a different market tempo, right? You'll like last year, the $1 million plus in Charlottesville really skewed the numbers, but you'll just see a different market tempo. But look, there's properties that we're involved with that we know of. They're all over the place. That in Charlottesville and in Lake Monticello and Ivy and in Earlysville that meet all the rights, right? They have multiple offers and move on.
Brent Lillard, who's a super smart guy, he's come on this network a couple of times, owns GovSmart, that's got 90 plus employees. This is the CEO of the company saying, why would major tax contributors stay in a place that props up homelessness and crime while increasing taxation at the same time?
wrong show, Jerry.
That's his comment right there.
Well,
Interesting comment.
so the only comment I can make to that is, okay, they're still coming and they're
Yeah.
still buying. and
Well,
they're
he's
still
talking city
selling.
of Charlottesville. And I think that speaks to
yeah.
the
Probably
population.
city more than-
Yeah, population and crime. Other comments are coming in. How about this one for Scott? Do we anticipate mortgage rates getting back into the fives in 2026?
I think the second half of the year, depending upon the outcome of this Iran situation, 100% has that possibility. And it will happen assuming that the Strait of Hormuz is open, shipping insurance goes back to normal, oil falls below $70 a gallon, a barrel, and then all of a sudden the Fed has replaced Jerome Powell. We have a forecast of trending down. The market will get ahead of the projections, and you'll see things move back into that range. And I'm a strong believer. The sooner that we put this thing to bed, the sooner we get back in that direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I posted something that I didn't even understand why we were there. That's a different show as well. This has now just hit the breaking news wire that Iran has officially rejected a U.S. proposal to end the war. So that literally broke 22 minutes ago.
Yeah, hence why WTI crude
Yeah,
is at
is that-
97.19. Yeah.
It's now looking to me, it's like Brent is now at 110.
Yeah, and WTI is right at 100. So, and to the point, right now they are letting their own ships through, and we've eased sanctions on them themselves so that they can sell their oil into the market to keep the prices lower, which gives them no incentive to end the confrontation.
Right. Alex Erpe, my friend, anything that you want to
No,
cover?
I think to Scott's point, it's funny. I do like to remind people, right? We also had a lousy first quarter last year. And I had so many people that were like, this is it. Everything's going to fall apart. Just get your money out of the market.
Especially
right
since now.
it was
Trump's first year.
Especially Trump. April 2nd, markets collapsed. Get your money out of it. And things return. So as much as we can have crystal balls, right, the issue is we don't really know what is going to happen in the second half of the year. Let alone, heck, we don't know what's going to happen in the last three quarters of the year. We're only a quarter of the way in. So there's a whole lot that can happen. I think to Scott's point, what's going to have to change, right, to see these kinds of changes is a change in expectations. We don't actually need to wait. You don't actually need the day that the Federal Reserve replaces Powell and the next guy comes out and says we're lowering. You just need a change in expectations. And that's what drives the rates in the markets.
That's right. You don't need a crystal ball. You need brass balls. Give Alex your money, put it in, set it, and forget it.
I like it.
But there's a lot to say to that just putting it. Well, we're going to keep a track here on the show about the real estate market and see how it's going. At the moment, I don't see anything impacting it, but that's today. Tomorrow it might be different. Next week it might be different. To your point, that's why I looked at last quarter versus this quarter and how we've now increased in volume. We've decreased in price point, but the reason we decreased in price point, averages and medians, is because the numbers are larger, and it's versus 2025. So we're going to keep a track on it. Thank you for dancing around the Iran thing. That's a personal thing to me. I lost some very good friends in '83. It was been there, done that. So I keep my opinion on that to myself. So I think and pray on a couple of buddies that I lost that day in April '83. So I take that. Thank you for staying away from it, because to me that's extremely personal.
He is A+ human, Keith Smith. Yes Realty Partners, been in the game since 1987. You are approaching 40 years in real
I
estate.
look pretty good for 40, don't I?
All right, I like it. 40 years in real estate for our friend Keith Smith. That's amazing. Yes Realty Partners.
And we're coming up on our 40th wedding anniversary, 40 years of working together. So when you see Yona, say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
Scott, no, Yona loves him. Yona loves him. Scott Morris of the Scott Morris team. Anyone and everyone that needs anything mortgage related, whether it's refinancing, whether it's a loan, whether it's an investment property, whether it's a construction loan, the Scott Morris team, that's who you call. This guy right here. And he's quick to answer. He talks on the phone with you people.
Amen.
That's extremely
Oh
important.
my God.
So
Is that driving you nuts?
I'm telling
that
you,
nobody wants to
Scott
talk to?
solves problems. The Scott Morris team is who you want to contact. This guy is Alex Erpy. He's the CEO of Emergent Financial Services. If you're looking to invest your money and grow, compound your money, Emergent Financial Services is who you contact. It's a family-owned business. You will meet with either Alex, his father, or his two brothers,
or more likely all four.
or all four. I mean, it's literally a
Hold
family-owned
it. When I
business.
meet you, it's only you. What's up with that?
Or you're special.
It's actually- well played there. You think quickly on your feet. That's one of your
I'll remember
talents.
this when we meet later.
Great show.
Yeah, just real quick, Scott. Thank you. 2 good hacks you did today. Hack number 1 is the look at the apps,
Yeah, I like that.
right? Hack number 2 is the other product lines are available for homes that don't quite catch the meet where you're at, and that there's loan products to go into that. So just, if you take anything from this show today, those 2 hacks are huge. So go back and watch it and let him to go and use that.
Scott is awesome. Alex and Keith are awesome. Judah Wickower behind the camera. It's Real Talk with Keith Smith. Archive wherever you get your social media or podcasting content. Thank you kindly for joining us.
Charlottesville 10 miler this weekend.
That's right. Keith, you running it?
No, I can't run anymore, but I'm going to be biking it and doing support for them on the bike and
I love
supporting
it.
the runs.
I love it. Thank you for joining us. So long, everybody. Nicely done. He's going to tell us when the mics are off.